Welcome to Sports Debaters. I'm Will.
And I'm Henry.
And we are ending the NBA and NHL playoffs. We're coming towards the end. Western and Eastern Conference Finals in both series. Henry, first, the NBA playoffs.
Yeah.
What do you think the effects of Serge Ibaka coming back are?
I think they're astounding. I mean, we finally have a player that can match up in the low post against, Tim Duncan, and I think that is a huge and important role.
I think not only is it someone that can match up against Tim Duncan, but it's someone that protects the rim. It affects the shot.
Completely.
There's no more easy layups for Tony Parker.
Let's be honest. Kendrick Perkins does not cut it.
He can't move as well. You can't defend the pick and roll.
Exactly.
Serge Ibaka, obviously, he's a good rebounder and an okay scorer, but it's really his defense that changed this series. If you look at the first two games, the Spurs destroyed them. Why? Because they had no one to protect the rim. They could just score at will. Now that Serge Ibaka is here, he defends the rim. Not only does he block shots, but he makes the players adjust in the air, which is not an easy thing to do.
It's not an easy thing to do. And, you can't really judge a defensive player in the post by the blocks. It's more importantly is how they change shots.
Exactly.
And having Serge Ibaka out there changes their shots. And I think that we'll see that down the road in the series that I think the games are going to be closer. I think the Thunder actually now have a shot of winning.
I think the Thunder will win.
Yeah, because now they have the momentum.
The Spurs have to change their game plan.
And the Spurs have to change their game.
Because originally their game plan had nothing to do with Serge Ibaka because he was out for the playoffs.
But
and
you also
somehow he returns.
Yeah.
How? I don't know, really.
I don't know. And
he was limping, but he came back.
Yeah, and that begs for another question. Will he be healthy for the whole series? Who knows?
But I would say even if he only plays one more game, now that the momentum is in there, now they know they can win, I think that the Thunder have a legit shot to win the series, and I think they will.
But we also cannot count out the mastermind of Greg Popovich.
He can easily one of the best coaches ever.
Yeah, and he is a mastermind at adapting to different schemes, and I think that he could come up with a new game plan, and they could win the next two games.
Absolutely.
Right on.
The thing about this series is that it's old. I don't want to say versus young because when we say experience win championships, sure the Spurs have experience, but if you look at it, the Thunder have played just as many playoff games as the Spurs. Yeah. Durant and Westbrook are just as experienced technically in the playoffs as the Spurs, even though they're years younger.
Even though they're sub-25, they've been there, they've done that, they've been to the finals, so you cannot say that they're just completely new to the game.
Because
I would say like the Portland Trail Blazers, who were a completely different story.
Absolutely. You look at this, and you can't say that the Spurs have more experience. Cause
exactly.
That's the common misconception. Yes, the Spurs have more age on their team, but the Thunder have been there the past couple of years, and they can do this. They know what it takes to come back in a series. That's why I see this. That's why I see the Thunder winning this series. But let's go to the Eastern Conference Finals. You look at the Heat, the Pacers. Pacers win Game 1, then the Heat come back. Who do you think wins, Henry?
Well, I think were
you even expecting the Pacers to be able to pull out a win in this series?
I thought that if they won the second game, I thought they would go and win the series.
Really?
But do you know what?
They lost.
They lost down the stretch. They had the win in their hands. With 6 minutes to go, you know what? They can't buy a basket for their life. They lose the game, and I think all the momentum goes to the Heat now.
Yeah, and you look at this, and it's going to be hard to come back against the Heat.
Yeah.
If you want to beat the Heat, you can't come back against the Heat.
And the problem is, now you have to go to Miami and get a game. That's not an easy thing to do, and I don't think they'll be able to do it.
I think that Paul George coming back, obviously had the concussion, and he played. I think even though he didn't play well, just his presence... I feel like when Paul George is on the court, it gives him confidence. Even though if he's not scoring, I think as long as Paul George remains in the game, as long as he does not suffer another injury, the Pacers will have a shot in this series. If they can, even if I don't believe they'll come back from 3-1. So they really do have to win Game 4. They have to tie the series up.
Win. Yeah, I completely agree.
You look at this, and the series really is in Game 4.
Yeah, I think even more important than Paul George is you have Roy Hibbert and David West need to be successful. We know the recipe of defeating the Heat.
I wouldn't have to get rebounds. David West. Roy Hibbert has to.
I think you need two players to play exceptionally well in the post.
But David West has had a good postseason where Roy Hibbert has to play up to his potential.
Exactly, but I think that we need outstanding games for them in the future if we want if the Pacers are going to go on.
Because the only way the Pacers, or any team for that matter, can beat the Heat is down low.
We've seen how the Bulls have been able to do it, but they've not been successful in a series. But you know what? You get that ball down low, and you get
gotta
rebounds
rebound.
and you get second chances. That's the only way I see them winning.
Yep.
And if Roy Hibbert plays like he did in the first round, it's not going to happen.
No, absolutely not. And he's playing better in this
He
series.
is. Oh yeah,
but
he's been able to put over 20
But
points.
he's
that one
still
game,
not playing
first
up
game.
to his potential.
Yeah.
And look at it. The first game, over 20 points, they get the win.
Yeah.
Hasn't scored over 20 points. You look at that. That's the key right there.
I
Roy
completely
Hibbert
agree.
has to score over 20 points. All right, Henry. Transition to the NHL playoffs. We see the Canadians go down to the Rangers 3-1. That was a huge loss last night as the Blackhawks are down 2-1. Game tonight. Who do you think wins each of these series?
Well, I think first off about the Eastern Conference, I'm very interested in this little rift between the two coaches. There's been some back and forth about watching each other's practices. Is that fair? Is that not?
And it's been a little bit of a nasty series. You see Jordan Prust hit Stepan, broke his jaw, suspensions.
Exactly.
Carcillo elbows a ref. 10-game suspension. It's been, and there's been fights.
This is what I love about hockey, the physicality of
right,
it.
and you look at this. This is a heated series. For the Kings Blackhawks, it's really not the same way. So it's two different types of series.
Well, it's very interesting.
Let's not forget the Canadians goalie Carey Price is out.
Yeah.
He's out for the rest of the series at least. So that was a big loss. But his replacement, Dustin Tokarov, I believe, has really played well. He probably wishes he had that goal last night in overtime against Marty St. Louis. Marty St. Louis had about 5 A+ chances in the past 2 games, so it's about time he scored on one of these. But he wishes he had that short side, top shelf. He wishes he had that back. But besides that, you really can't blame him for the way they've been, for their losses. He's really been playing well, saved them numerous times as on another A+ chance. Marty St. Louis breakaway, glove save. I mean, he's really played well.
I completely agree with you. And getting to the Western Conference, I think it's very intriguing how Patrick King, he got a goal in the first game, has been so ineffective the last 2 games. He needs to show up tonight.
I wouldn't say he's been ineffective.
He's not been scoring. He's not been getting good chances. He needs to step up, and he needs to score. I mean, they won the second game. They were up 2-0, and all of a sudden they let up both those goals.
Yeah,
that's unacceptable.
I would say that Patrick Kane has had his chances, but he has to finish them. He has to capitalize on his chances. He's had them. He's made some good passes, but his teammates, everyone on that team,
but that's
has
not
to
typical
capitalize.
of Patrick King. Usually, he's going to convert on those. If the Blackhawks, who are now down 2-1, want to go on to the Stanley Cup Finals, they need to win.
Well, I mean, obviously they need to win, but I would say, unlike where we say the Pacers and the Heat, I don't think that this is a must-win game because I know we've seen the Blackhawks. They can come back. But
the Kings are a different animal.
I understand that. I understand they're very good, but I would say it's in comparison. The Blackhawks wouldn't be done if they lost tonight. Where the Pacers, they would be done. I mean, that's where I think. But I think absolutely the Blackhawks have to win. They have to step up. They have to score. Hossa, Sharp have really been quiet the entire playoffs. They have to score. I mean, the only one that played well in the Game 3 was Jonathan Toews. But you definitely have to. Corey Crawford hasn't been playing as well as he did last year in the Western Conference Finals against the Kings. He's let in some goals he wishes he had back. But I think the Blackhawks, I said at the beginning of the playoffs, Blackhawks, and I'm going to stick with it. I think that they both come back from their series. Yeah. Canadians aren't out of it yet. They go back home. I think they win this game. Game 6, Game 7, who knows? Anything can happen.
My Stanley Cup pick, the Penguins are already out, so
Come on, Henry.
Just another stupid pick by me.
Yeah, another stupid pick by him.
Let's transition now.
He's full of them, too.
Yeah, it seems like everyone I pick is wrong, so I guess I should just stop picking.
All right, so wait, you didn't answer. Who do you have winning each series?
Well, I mean,
you can't go.
Should I just pick the opposite? I'll say the Blackhawks, and then I'll go with the Canadians, just like your pick to jinx you.
He's just wants to be me, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay, let's transition now to Jurgen Klinsmann's squad, the 23 roster, and guess who's not on it?
Landon Donovan, all-time leading scorer for the men's national team.
And also now all-time leading MLS scorer as he scored his 135th goal yesterday or today.
What do you think of this decision, Henry?
It's very, very gutsy, I would have to say. From if it works, he looks like a genius.
Right. That's what
If they don't win a game, all the blame is going to go on him because you're leaving out the most experienced USA player. Well, that is a real issue I have.
Yeah, no, this is how I look at it. If Jurgen Klinsmann, if the U.S. don't make it past the group stage, he's fired. So they don't make it past the group stage.
I disagree with that because the U.S. just gave him a 4-year contract for the 2018 World Cup.
Well, let's say they lose every game. You think they keep him? I doubt it.
I think they do because
I would be shocked.
I would. They are going to still take him because first of all, there's no one better you can get.
Well, you don't know that. I mean, things can happen.
What do you want? Who do you want now? David Moyes? Well, no, of course not. There's no superstar coach that is out on the market.
Right, yet, but maybe after the World Cup, some things happen.
But this is the issue. No one really, truly wants the U.S. spot. Where would you rather want to go to? The Netherlands, who is going to have an open vacancy now since Van Gaal is going to Manchester United, or the U.S.? Of course you're going to take the Netherlands. It's not a very sexy place to go, Will.
My point is that after the World Cup, things happen. Stuff could happen if the U.S. fired Klinsmann. They would be able to find a replacement. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, of course they would find a replacement, but it would not be a comparable one.
What I'm saying is that for leaving Landon Donovan out, this is how I look at it. The U.S. make it past the group stage. Julian Green scores 6 goals or something. Klinsmann gets bowed to by everyone. He's a hero. If they don't win a game, everyone blames him, points fingers. Why isn't Donovan there? I never expected Donovan to start. I expected him to make the roster, come on 75th, 80th minute in a tie game, maybe play extra time. Because he's experienced, he can do that.
He could give you 30 solid minutes and get a goal.
But to not have that guy that can come on in the 80th minute and you can say, wow, this guy's experienced. He knows what it takes to score a goal in the 80th minute. I'm very shocked by that.
But also, I kind of understand where Jurgen Klinsmann is coming from. You know what? They need athleticism. They need players who are going to be able to play in the Brazilian heat this summer and travel. And Landon Donovan has stated before in interviews that he cannot play 3 good practices in a row.
No, his body's breaking down.
Exactly, but the World Cup is going to be a really strenuous schedule, and if he cannot do that, why does he deserve to be there? Well, besides leadership and his experience, there's nothing really else.
Leadership, I mean, all reports indicate he's not the best teammate.
Exactly.
He's not the best teammate.
So then if you leave out the leadership, I guess the experience and the talent is all that you have. But if you're not going to be able to play in the heat, then why should you be there?
Because he's not going to be playing 90 minutes in the heat.
I understand you, but
he would come in for 10, 15 minutes and provide some energy. That's the guy you need to come in. He would make, I can guarantee he'd create at least 1 or 2 scoring chances.
I understand, but other players that can act, but Jurgen Klinsmann wants young, athletic players who can make a difference, not in just this World Cup, but in the World Cup 4 years later.
I understand.
Julian Green, John Brooks, Timothy Chandler, all young Bundesliga players that could be
I'm not saying
the core of the future.
I'm not saying I disagree with Klinsmann. I think that it's a okay. I mean, I don't love the pick. I think Donovan should have made it, but I understand, like you, the way where he's coming from, the future. I understand that he's not the best teammate. There's several factors that went into this decision besides just that he's older than most of the guys.
And also, I think another interesting aspect in this is that I don't think that I think part of the issue is that the personal disconnect between them. They don't like each other. As you saw, the son of Jurgen Klinsmann making that ridiculous tweet, basically laughing at him not making the squad. I mean, where's that coming from? And I think that's part of the rift between them. And I think that if they actually liked each other, I think he would have been on the squad. Players like Brad Davis, who is the Houston Dynamo attacking midfielder, I don't think has near the quality, and he's also almost 30 years old. Why is he on the squad, whereas Donovan, who's around the same age, and he's way better? I don't understand that.
I think a great addition who has yet to play a World Cup is Kyle Beckerman. Great player. I think that this guy will come up with a clutch goal somewhere in this World Cup.
You think so?
I do. I know he'll play. I know him and Michael Bradley. Yeah. Michael Bradley will play in the middle. He's plays more
defensive.
Exactly. But I think that he will come up, and I just think that he is that type of player. He does bring experience, and I shouldn't say experience, leadership. He brings leadership
because he's not been to a World Cup yet, but he's been there.
He's past 30. So he's towards the end of his career, made the roster. Expect him to start with Bradley, and I think those two in the middle will be very, very good.
I mean, as we saw against the Mexico friendly, where that was Julian Green's first playing minutes for the national team, we saw that the combination between Dempsey, Bradley, and Beckerman was lethal.
Yeah.
I mean, they were all on the same page. They completely controlled the middle.
Yep.
And if they can do that against Ghana and Portugal, they'll definitely not be able to do against Germany because they're just too good. Then I think that they could advance.
Yeah, no.
But that's a big if because Mexico is obviously not on the same par as those two teams.
Well, as we said it the whole time, if U.S. wants to prove that they are a soccer country, this is their chance.
Yeah.
They now get to prove, they get to play against the big boys, show that they deserve to be there, show that they deserve to win, and they're just forced to be reckoned with. This is their chance. Or they could lose every game, and people will laugh at them like they always do.
Just my biggest worry is that they come in, they lose all games, and they become a laughing stock. I think that would hurt the U.S. culture for soccer. And I don't think that would be a horrible
hurt their
step
reputation a lot.
Exactly.
I mean, they're kind of getting hyped up for this World Cup
They
little bit.
They are. And I think that they need a great showing. They need to get out of the group stage. And I think with a little bit of luck, I think that they could possibly get out there.
Can't wait.
June
22nd, right?
Yep. June 12th.
12th. All right. Can't wait for that. Let's transition. French Open just getting underway.
Yes, we just saw a great match that went into 5 sets and almost 30 games.
So, Henry, do you have a favorite for the French Open? It's clay court, so it's a different style of play.
Of course.
I love watching the French Open.
Yeah, talking about different style of play. Nadal's the best at it. 60-1 he is.
You look at the Europeans growing up on the clay court, so
exactly,
Americans growing up on the hard court.
Yeah.
So it's different. So it's like when the Europeans come to the U.S. Open, it's a different style, and the Americans go. Americans
faster,
obviously aren't.
Yeah, they're not even very good.
They're not a threat. They're not a threat.
But on the women's side, obviously, they're very dominant.
So who do you have, Henry?
Nadal. He's too good on the clay.
See, my favorite player is Jo-Wilfried Tsonga out of France. Grew up playing on the clay court, obviously. The hometown man. He went to the semis last year, took Federer 3 sets. So
you think he can maybe upset some players and get to the finals?
I love Tsonga. I love his game, and I think he'll make it to the semis, maybe the finals. But I got to go with Nadal winning it all.
Yeah.
But I think it will be Nadal against Tsonga.
Yeah, and we also have to say that one loss that Nadal had was he was injured. It was his bad year, so it was kind of unfair for him.
Yeah,
no. He's almost basically undefeated.
The summertime is full of tennis. You got Wimbledon, you got U.S. Open, and you got French Open.
Yeah.
So a lot of tennis to all the tennis fans. A lot of tennis to be looking forward to.
Exactly.
All right, Henry. We had some. There's some coaching vacancies open throughout the NBA. You look at some teams. Obviously, I don't know if you heard about the Timberwolves and the Memphis kind of go back and forth about compensating for coaches.
Yeah.
Who do you think?
Thibodeau, also the Bulls and Thibodeau. There have been some questions. Are the Bulls trying to shop Thibodeau around? Which I think would be a horrible idea. But that's a different story.
You look at Steve Kerr getting hired by the Warriors.
Potentially
the Knicks
Stan Van Gundy getting hired by the Pistons, which I think is a great fit. And I actually think that they could be a surprise playoff team.
Well, they have the talent.
They have the talent. And now they have the coach.
You look at the Knicks maybe making a run at Derek Fisher once the season's over, but I believe Derek Fisher wants to play a couple more years, maybe. Yeah. So who do you think fills these vacancies? I've heard that John Stockton is who the Jazz want to fill their coaching vacancy.
That'd be interesting.
The Bulls assistant Adrian Griffin interviewed for the Cavs, the Bucks, and the Jazz, and the Jazz told him that they wanted John Stockton. He was their number one choice, so maybe John Stockton comes in without coaching and just goes right in. Who do you think fills these vacancies?
Well, I think the 2 best coaches out there are, I think that it's George Karl. I'm still at a loss how he got fired from being coach of the year. Lionel Hollins.
I was going to say, what about Lionel Hollins?
Who is a great coach as well, who basically got them so far in the playoffs last year and then got fired. I'm shocked why he's
I'm shocked those names haven't been thrown around more. Lionel Hollins has been here and there, but not really.
Yeah, how has Steve Kerr gotten all this hype and he hasn't even coached yet?
Lakers have said maybe they want Lionel Hollins, but
I would think that would be great.
I'm surprised his name really hasn't been mentioned more often. Why haven't the Knicks made a run at him?
I think Lionel Hollins would fit perfectly with the Knicks. They need defense, and you know what? Lionel Hollins brings defense.
Yeah, and then you look at who else? What other coaching? Or the Cavs? Who do you think after firing Mike Brown
for the second time? I mean,
hey, with with the number 1 draft pick now, as we saw in the NBA draft lottery.
Yeah, wow. I mean,
that is an appetizing coaching job. They have the talent. They're getting the talent. They're getting the number 1 pick.
I mean, I would really like to see George Karl go there. I think that would be a very interesting and intriguing spot for him. I think he would really get them to the playoffs. I mean, I would want George Karl to be there.
Yeah. Who do you think they take with the number 1 pick?
I think that with the number 1 pick, they're going to go with Andrew Wiggins.
Really?
I don't think Luol Deng's going to stay around. I don't think he wants to be there.
So you would take Andrew Wiggins over Jabari Parker?
More athletic, more upside. Yes, I would go with him.
See, the reason I find that hard to believe, I don't think that they take Wiggins, I don't think they take Embiid, is because there's still risk in both those players. And by now, after the Cavs having so many number 1 picks, you don't want to risk. You don't want to risk. You want to take a player that you know is going to be successful in the NBA, that you know there's no risk. He has proven himself, and that's Jabari Parker for me.
I think it's hard to say there's no risk because there's always going to be risk in every pick, but
less risk.
Less risk. Yeah.
And for me, that player is Jabari Parker. I think Jabari Parker should go number 1. Whether he will, I don't know, but he is, in my opinion, the most polished NBA player in this draft. The player
not
that
as much upside, but more
the player that you will say, oh, this guy, yes, he will have a good career. Yes, he probably will go to some All-Star games because you know that he has the talent.
But
he's
do you think
proven himself? Where Wiggins, he's athletic. He's an athletic freak. You saw his vertical,
44 inches.
44 inches. I mean, he has all the upside, but he could not pan out.
Yes, but it's hard for the Cavs owner, Dan Gilbert, to swallow that, saying, you know what, let's take this safe pick and let's get a guy that might go to a couple All-Star games. He might be pretty good.
Well, I think Jabari
could
Parker
you go with the player that could possibly be a Hall of Famer, a top 10 player? It's so hard to swallow.
I don't believe that Andrew Wiggins can be a Hall of Famer. I believe if I were to put money on it right now, I would put my money on Jabari Parker being a Hall of Famer over Andrew Wiggins.
But there's more upside, and that's, I think, that people, you know, they get greedy. They want to see the upside. They see the future. And you know what? People, I mean, we've seen it before.
I just don't think I think Andrew Wiggins was so overhyped coming out of high school.
But he got better as the year progressed. I mean, I've watched a ton of his games as a Kansas fan, and I saw that his shot is there finally. All he needs to work on is getting to
Is his shot as good as Jabari?
It's not as good as Jabari, but it's getting there. It's getting there. All he needs to work on, I think, is a little bit of dribbling, and he will be fine.
I just look. You watch Jabari Parker play, and you see him. He has the ability to dominate a game.
But he
has the ability, and I don't see that in Andrew Wiggins yet. I don't think he has the ability to dominate a game yet. He's not good enough.
But what I see from Andrew Wiggins when I see him, I see a guy that is just crazy athletic.
I've seen him like athletic, not a crazy good basketball player.
Crazy good basketball player in the sense that he can go from the 3 in two jumps and like dunk with his elbow.
But when is he ever going to do that in a game?
I think he will be surprised.
I think he
can do that.
That's not worth a number 1 pick. Being able to take 2 steps and dunk from the 3-point line.
But what's being worth being a number 1 pick though? What's being number 1 pick worthy though is being being crazy athletic and having a ton of upside. Well, that's the thing.
But
these number 1 picks are all about upside.
I know, and I'm saying this year for the Cavs, why would you take that? You've already taken the risky picks.
I understand.
Took Anthony Bennett.
I understand where you're coming from, but it's hard to swallow. That's all I'm saying.
I just look at Jabari. It's not like he's not athletic.
I know, but I would say Andrew Wiggins.
He's just in my opinion, he's just easily the best player in this draft. If I were to say which player is going to become a Hall of Famer in this draft, it's Jabari Parker.
That's a good point.
I just don't see how you could take someone over Jabari. But again, has so much risk.
So much risk. But if he did not have that back injury, I think he would be unequivocally the top pick.
Yes.
Because, first of all, the Cavs don't have anyone at center. So they need someone.
But not only is he risk with his injury in his back, but he's also a risk in his talent. He's still new.
Oh, yeah. Completely agree.
So, you look at the NBA draft coming up. Look at some of the draft workouts coming up now. So, Jabari Parker for me.
Okay, Andrew Wiggins for me.
Alrighty. We'll be back tomorrow, actually, with a special guest. It would be a surprise.
Yeah, we're going to keep it on the down low, but
you want to tune in.
Okay.
Alrighty. Thanks.